Hello, this video is for the 10-mark usefulness question on your Unit 1 paper, International Relations. It's the third question in your paper. So, what do you have to do? Well, you're going to evaluate the usefulness of two sources. You must do both to get good marks. You need to, whilst doing that, consider how useful the information in the sources are, and you must also consider the reliability, the impact of the nature, origin and purpose on the usefulness for this particular question. So read the question carefully. This is the one we're going to work with. Evidence of the reasons for the USA's blockade of Cuba. It's not general usefulness on whatever you fancy. It's not just about anything to do with Cuba. It's why did the USA blockade Cuba? That's what I'm looking for in both of these sources. Usefulness will change according to the question. So, remain focused on what they're asking you to do. This is not a general review, and you must consider strengths and weaknesses of each source. Generally, the information will be the strong, useful bit, and who said it will often be the weak point and the less useful part of it. So here's my first source, President Kennedy's television broadcast. Pause and read if you so wish. The content of this source, it's useful, because what does it tell me? It tells me that the US has decided to blockade Cuba because it needs to do something about what the Soviets are up to, and it's also told me that they're not going further than that because they don't want to start a war. So it's a nice middle ground for the US, and this source is very useful for telling me that. That's the content of the source. However, let's consider the nature, the origin and the purpose of the source. Nature, what is it? It's a speech on television. Origin, where's it from? It's from Kennedy. Purpose, well, that's often the clincher. So it's less useful because he wants to convince people that he is making the right decision. That's why he has gone on television. Look at me, I'm your president, I know what I'm doing. And by doing so, he makes the Soviet Union look like the baddies. They're the ones that are being aggressive, and I am trying to defend peace and liberty. So that purpose is going to affect the things that he tells us, and that is therefore making it less useful. My second source is this photograph published by the American Embassy showing supposed missile sites in Cuba. So the content's useful because it shows me that there are missile sites on Cuba. That's a reason why they blockade. The American claims are based on some hard evidence. That's the usefulness of this source for this question. However, again, I have hesitation due to the nature, origin and purpose. They're published by the US Embassy. That's already should be setting off some alarm bells. It's a bit fishy, especially when the labels show exactly what the US want them to show to justify their blockade. How do we know that those things are what the embassy say they are? It could just be normal lorries. This site could be for some other purpose. So let's look at a simple answer. This is what I want to avoid. I don't think C is very useful because it's been labelled by the Americans. Now there's nothing wrong, that's true, but it's very simple. It's not going to get you very good marks, and it just talks about the provenance of the source, the nature, origin, purpose. And similarly, this second answer is not very good. It just tells me about the attitudes of Kennedy. That's more of a content-focused statement, but it's very simple. At level 2, you're either talking about the content or the nature, origin and purpose. So this is what an answer just about content would look like, if you can pause and read. And this is what an answer just about nature, origin and purpose would look like. If you do either of these, even though they're actually quite good, because they're only doing one half of the job, they're going to end up being level 2 answers. Level 3, you need both of these things together. So both elements that you just read put together, and you must keep the focus on what does that do to the usefulness. Explain it. Don't just assert, oh, that makes it less useful. Tell me why it makes it less useful. And apply your own knowledge to do that. You're going to have to show that you know what the purpose is, show me what's going on. So I'm going to get out of the way of this, and you can read that answer. I hope you've read it. So, recapping. Consider the usefulness of the source's information, consider the impact that the nature, origin and purpose will have, and you need to do this for both of the sources, don't just do it for one of them. If you do content and nature, origin and purpose for both sources, you can score really highly on this question.